Well, great guys. Welcome back to the channel. Man, we have a special guest for you. Well, everybody's a special guest that I bring, basically. We have Caitlin Rogers. How you doing, Caitlin?
I'm doing good. Enjoying the sun today.
That's fantastic. Caitlin used to be on my team when she was 9, and it's so crazy when you see people from 9. And I don't know where you're at now. Are you 21, 22, 25?
I'm 24.
24. And Caitlin was on my team. Just so you know, a couple weeks ago, I interviewed Cassidy, which was on the same. You guys were on the same team. You grew up together, so that
Yep.
was pretty awesome. But Caitlin, what we want to do is tell us a little bit about where you are now. Okay, where your playing experience and things like that.
Yeah. I played college soccer at the University of Montana for 4.5 years. And then as soon as I graduated in the fall of 21, I went and I wanted to play professionally overseas. And so then I went to Iceland in February of 2022, and I was there till about September. And then after that, I came home for a few months, for about 6 months, and then I went back and got a contract in Sweden. And then after Sweden, I went directly to Malta.
Wow. Okay, so you're kind of in transition. Do you want to continue playing professionally?
Um, I don't know if I want to keep going overseas. I did see that there's going to be a professional team in Santa Barbara that I was thinking about trying out for 2025. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, that's great. Let me ask you something. So do you feel like you reach some of all the goals that you've set for, as far as athletically wise, as soccer wise? Do you feel that you've reached those goals, or do you still have other goals you want to reach?
I definitely think I reached those goals. Just because at least playing professional soccer, like either in the US or overseas, that like
Mhm.
wasn't necessarily always like a goal or like dream of mine. But then being at the University of Montana and just seeing how some of the girls who were years above me had gone overseas, and then having an assistant who had also played overseas and got me in contact with her agent, made it more of like a reality. So that wasn't necessarily something I wanted to do until I was in college.
That's
And I
great.
saw how attainable it like actually was.
That's great. And it is interesting because like when I started coaching you and Cassidy and all those guys, and just about all the kids that I coach, it's not
Yeah.
something. These are not things that comes to your mind because you're in the moment, you're thinking about it, and then you see the kids where they're at. They haven't matured yet. I remember you being very quiet. I couldn't get you to talk, and then we did a lot of private sessions together, and then still couldn't get you to talk a lot. So I'm thinking, wow. I mean, I can't get these girls to even talk. I mean, so that site as far as professional was never in my mind. But I'm sure, but what I've learned over the years is that, every year that the kids grow up, they mature, everything changes. There's so many changes, and you got to be ready for that as a coach. Um, how do you feel? How do you feel like your parents help you to get where you are? Because there's a lot of kids now where they're at now, just like I'm talking about, when they're 8, 9 years old, and the parents are doing a lot of different things, but kids don't really see that. So sometimes we need somebody to come alongside them and actually help them to see that. So how do you feel your parents help you to get to where you are?
Well, it started like very young because it was them who would drive me to practice multiple times a week and drive me to my games and like get private sessions like with you. So like just being able to give me the tools to like be where I'm at today was like a big part of like them or me getting to be able to play overseas and like playing at like a D1 level in college, and just making sure I had the tools I needed in order to get there. And they were by my side like to make sure that if I did have any questions to help, but kind of wanted me to kind of do it, I guess, on my own. But we're there if I needed help.
Oh, great. The channel is all about educating parents on youth sports, right?
Yeah.
So was there anything your parents did that you thought was not helpful during those times?
Um, I guess the only thing would be I feel like this happens a lot though, is like after games, like how parents can like really get on you sometimes, like if you didn't play well
Mhm.
or anything like that. But that's just like a part of the sport. Like you're not gonna have 100% game like every time. Like you're gonna have bad ones, but like those are the games that you like learn from and like improve on. So like you shouldn't necessarily like bring them down after they have like a bad performance, but like maybe just like kind of talk with them and maybe see like what was going through their head, or like what if there was something going on, like why they weren't at like their best performance.
Right. I tell parents not even to talk about the game.
Yeah.
Because as a coach, I don't talk about the game right after the game. I know
Yeah.
some coaches, they like to bring the players together and have a meeting and stuff. I just let the players go because you can't change anything then. When we get to practice, we'll talk about what happened in the game, give the players a chance to just calm down, and we can talk about it calmly and actually make a difference. Is there something, for example, because you were so busy playing soccer that you felt you missed out on, that you felt that you didn't get to do?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I just thoroughly enjoyed soccer and like being active and stuff. So I liked that it took up so much of my time. But like even in high school, like high playing like club soccer wasn't like everything, because like I was still able to do track. I was still able to do like other sports. But soccer was the one I wanted to pursue at the end of the day.
Right. Okay. Um, do you have a coach that you felt you learned the most from? And this is kind of a loaded question because you learn from all the coaches, let's face it, right? So, but then
Yeah.
there's someone that you may feel that you learn a little bit more from, but the reality you learn, even sometimes bad coaches you learn from, you learn what not to do, basically. So is there one person that you feel that you learn the most from?
Have a new coach, I learned like something new. So there's not necessarily like one coach that necessarily like stuck out to me, just because like even like now, like when I played like overseas, like in Sweden and stuff, like I still had like coaches that were like still like just the way they talk about the game or the way they explain the game through like film and stuff. It's like a way I didn't necessarily like think of like
Right.
before.
Right.
So even now, like I'm still like learning significantly with like each new team that like I'm being a part of.
That's fantastic. Do you feel, is there anything you want to share with younger kids or parents, as far as about the process you went through to get to where you are?
Um, Honestly, just like trust in yourself and like know that it will happen. I know sometimes like playing at like a D1 like program or like being overseas can like be scary at times, but it's possible. And like if you put the work in and like you get the right resources and people around you, like anything is possible.
Oh no, that's great. That's great. Where do you feel most of your development came from? Would it be, obviously it's always a combination of things, right? Because it's not always one thing. But do you feel that, is it playing on a certain team? Is it playing with a certain group of players? Was it playing on your own, practicing on your own, training on your own? Where do you feel most of it came from?
I feel like the most of like my development was my freshman year of college. Just because the caliper is like so much higher. Now you're playing with girls who are like years ahead of you. So now you get to college and kind of like hit the ground running. You're like, I need to be physically in shape. I need to be strong. Like I need to have like my skills like intact. And there was just a lot going on, at least like freshman year. And it kind of like whipped like my butt into shape with my like soccer skills and everything like that. So that was like a big wake up call, I guess, was my
Right.
first like 2 weeks of freshman year.
Oh, that's fantastic. Is there anything that you would, any advice you would give some of the people that are coming behind you? Okay, so we know that if you look at where you came from, for example, you came from Temecula, California. We all live in this little, in quote unquote, little area, and then all of a sudden now you see where you see where you've been and some of the places probably you haven't been to. But what advice would you give some of the players that are coming behind you?
Yeah. I think a big thing for college is like not just to look at like the name of the school and like to make sure that where you're going, like let's say soccer like doesn't pan out. Cause I know like my senior year I broke my leg. So like I was out for like a whole season and like soccer wasn't a big part of my life at that point in time. It was like recovering. But it's, will you be happy at your school, soccer aside? Can
Right.
you picture yourself like being there for the next 4 years if soccer wasn't a part of it? And if the answer is yes, then like look into that school. Because if soccer again doesn't happen, or like you don't like it after like the first 2 years, you still have a college you can go to that you'll like, and you don't have to like transfer somewhere.
Correct. No, that's very important because a lot of people don't pick the school first.
Mm-hmm.
They will pick the soccer program. And then, as you said, injuries do happen in this game. And if they get injured, they're not playing, then all of a sudden, boom, they're in a school they don't like. they're with a bunch of people they don't like. So that's a tough one. That's a
Yeah.
tough one. So what's next for you now? I mean, I know you talked about going, trying out for this team that's going to be where's it going to be at? Is it San Jose?
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara. Okay.
They're gonna be a new team popping up in 2025. They were supposed to be in 2024, but some of their paperwork didn't get in by the deadline, so they had to push it back a whole year. So I believe they'll have open tryouts either at the end of 2024 or at the beginning of 2025 that I'll be preparing for and try out.
Okay. Is there is there something that you want to do, for example, after your playing career? So let's say you play for another 5 years or 6 years, whatever it is. Is there something that you're already interested in doing, or you're not sure about that yet?
I really like fitness and stuff, so I'll be getting my personal training license. And then in Santa Barbara, I know I did last time I was here, but like reach out to like some of the clubs here and then maybe do like individual trainings with like the younger girls. Because I did that a few times when I was here last year. And I really enjoyed it.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So you want to be a coach, kind of like me?
Yeah, we'll see. Like I don't mind doing it like on the side, but I don't know if I would necessarily do that like full time.
Right.
But we'll see. Like anything's possible. So.
No, that's fantastic. Fantastic. Caitlin, any last words, anything that you would like to share with players, with coaches, with parents? Because what we want to do is give them as much information as we can. Because you are right now, you're in the process, right? You're going through the process. You've already played professionally. And I think a lot of parents would like to see their kids do the same.
Yeah.
So anything that you can share with them, last words.
Yeah. If playing pro like is like your dream, like don't think it's so far out of reach. Like it's honestly a lot easier than like I even expected like going into it. It honestly is like kind of who you know. So if you get an agent or like you just kind of like reach out to teams, you just need your resume kind of with what your accolades have been either in college or if you've played in other professional programs. And just reach out to teams. And honestly, it's a lot easier than you think. So if that's like a dream of yours, like definitely like try and like do it. It's a lot easier than you think.
Well, that's fantastic. Caitlin, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the
Of course.
time to speaking with us. And I know this is going to help a lot of parents, a lot of players, a lot of coaches. They're going to take your words and hopefully transform whatever they're doing. It doesn't have to be 100%, but they can add things to it and make it better. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye.